This is my second video presentation on how sport contributes to global development. To understand sport for development's role, it's important to look at the beginnings of sport being used as a unification and developmental tool. The British Empire's use of sport, primarily cricket, into colonised lands, first started as a way to sustain a cultural loyalty to the homeland to immigrants that had come over, as Holt 2013 mentions. And as Guha 2002 says, cricket provided much comfort to the expatriate British man. So cricket first came about as a familiar and comforting pastime, reminding British immigrants of back home. But cricket was more than this. It provided these hegemonic cultural values that the British used as separation between them and what they referred to as the local savages. But this use of cricket to mirror solely British values didn't last, and as Guha nicely puts it, the homesick colonial and imitative native. Natives would watch British soldiers playing cricket and imitate the game using makeshift bats on rough surfaces. And as Buheel put it, cricket being a double-edged sword, although cricket arrived as a game of the coloniser, it could not remain exclusive of the colonist. It moved beyond social boundaries of privilege. Nandi mentioned in his book The Tao of Cricket, cricket is an Indian game accidentally discovered by the English, which gives us a good idea of how internalised cricket was by natives. And so the British values mirrored in cricket, such as respect, fairness, integrity, accountability, as stated by the International Cricket Council website, were taken up by colonised lands such as India. And so this moves us on nicely to modern day sport for development. UNICEF.org says sport for development uses sport to achieve crucial outcomes for children and youth, such as learning, health, empowerment and protection. This is where sport for development organisations come in. Sportanddevelopment.org describes sport for development organisations as any organisation that runs activities in the area of sport and development, or that is using sport as a tool to reach development goals, is considered a sport and development organisation. NGOs, IGOs and GOs all play a part in the creation of sport for development organisations. Each organisation has its own SDG or NDG goal, as mentioned in the first video. These goals, such as tackling AIDS, HIV, the Kicking AIDS Out NGO, Peace Players teaches basketball with mixed ethnicities and cultures, the MYSA promotes gender equality and community cleanups. And so now we have a good understanding of the organisations. We'll evaluate one in more detail. So far we've covered the MDG and SDG goals and sport development organisations. I now want to introduce an example of one organisation, and in doing so interlink it with the developmental goals. Once we have an understanding of what these organisations do, I will then evaluate and critique in some aspects sport for development's realistic role in achieving MDGs and SDGs. The first example of a sport for development organisation is Play It Forward, which is an NGO based in Zambia with an MDG and SDG goal of tackling poverty. This is achieved, as they say, through three key areas: education, well-being and employment. They've created a football academy with the goals of educating players and equipping them for job opportunities, health and AIDS awareness. It's a non-profit organisation and a registered charity within the United Kingdom. Play It Forward, as Coulter 2007 describes, uses benefits presumed to be associated with participation in sport, not only developing personal and social skills, but also moral personality traits such as discipline, honesty, integrity, generosity, and trustworthiness. And that's from the President's Council on Physical Fitness and Sports 2006. Smith and Waddington 2004 continue, sport is seen as unambiguously wholesome and healthy activity in both a physical and moral sense. But this is where sport for development organisations may falter. As Glasner argues, sport for development is based on idealistic and popular ideas that are produced largely outside of sociological research and analysis, and which isolate a particular relationship between variables to the exclusion of others, and without a sound basis for doing so. Cruz 2006 doubles down on this point, describing sport for development as intriguingly vague and open for several interpretations. So these organisations have their goals and ideals, but as mentioned, where do they sit in the long-term development of the countries they're trying to help? And is there evidence to say they do? This will be discussed further in my third video presentation. And so my third and final video will evaluate and summarise the information I've covered in the two previous presentations. I will cover the ulterior motives in which the MDGs and SDGs and financial aid promote, such as neocolonialism, and how aid and development organisations promote dependency. I will also evaluate sport for development's role in this and the lack of cohesion between organisations halting communities' development.